Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, we will open the floor for public comments. There's no one here in person with us this evening, so we would offer the option online. And we don't have any other attendees online, so no public comment for this evening. We are going to move item D to the end of the agenda just to make sure that we can complete that vote accordingly. So we can move on to item E, which is correspondence received 113 to 213. As you can see, there's one request in here from Callahan regarding a request to do to help out a student with a journalism project. So I was just telling Devin I'll be happy to have a quick conversation and provide any updates here at CCSU. I think we did one last year as well, I believe. So that's good source of communication as well. So no other correspondence other than that, but I always do take an opportunity to remind our community to use the contact form that's on the bottom of our website page or website homepage. So by all means, a way to reach us and ask questions or provide comment there at any time. So we will move right on to reports. I do not have anything specific to the chair report of this evening. Town council report, I think we will also defer our town council representative this evening. Board of Education liaison report, anything, Sarah? Yeah, no, nothing for this group. Nothing specific. You guys are making it's going way too fast. No, it's we got a joke or something. Then tell reading. 1928 building committee liaison report. I actually have one to read, which is so this came from Chris. The 1928 committee meeting met on the 7th and recapped the council approval of the project and capped the council approval of the project at the 9 million net municipal cost figure, taking into consideration the use of the ARPA funds. They will need to engage in some value engineering in that cost estimate as this would exceed that figure. So we created a value engineering subcommittee that will engage in that process and report back to our group. The rest of the time was spent discussing the efforts of the communications subcommittee, which will also include newsletters, webpage updates, and a Q&A, and our efforts heading into the referendum, which will include community meetings, town hall tours, and coffees with the community at Starbucks, and their next meeting is the 28th. So if we remember from our meeting last time, that was the next step in the process, is the 1928 committee was preparing for their presentation to town council. That was done. You might have seen an update. I actually even think there's something even in some local media about the results of that meeting as well. So the information is out there. Design has been presented, cost estimate. Obviously, there's some additional engineering work they're going to need to do, but it's really kind of now keeping us very engaged in the process moving forward, moving towards that that referendum date, which is in April.
As it's tentatively going to be on the same ballot as the budget, which will be April 27th.
So to keep that in mind for timing, I do know we were just talking about the fact that there is some work and very, very minimal coordination that's happening between our committee and the 1928 based on kind of site evaluation and support there. But we're just going to keep our eye on that and see where that leads us and where the referendum will lead us moving forward. So making sure we're staying engaged, but also making sure that we're not confusing even on cross communication here. Any other questions on that or thoughts or anything else that nobody wants to provide on that right now? More to come. Okay, owner's rep reports.
Yeah, sure. So just a few quick items. We did receive our first payment from the state. So received that I think notification from Joe last week. So we'll start working on preparing our second submission for invoicing to the state. We've been preparing our budget updates monthly and our cash flow projections for the finance subcommittee. We'll talk a little bit more as we get to that committee. The coordinating efforts for the decision-making group. So as change orders start coming up, decision-making group really is going to start focusing on the details of those change orders. We'll see in in the OAC meetings that come up in ONG's PCO logs, and that's where those sort of start to generate. Decision-making group meets, and then we go in detail. We've created a cover sheet now for the group. Some haven't even seen it yet, but it'll be a cover sheet it's here in the packet that kind of breaks down just a quick snapshot of each change order that gets produced. And then some value engineering items. If you all recall, pre-referendum, we were creating a list of potential items, cost-saving items that we might have to implement in order to stay within our project budget after the numbers had come in. And so some of those still make sense to do. They're no-brainers. There's probably a small handful of those numbers. Sam spent some time with us and Nelson reviewing that list and really prioritizing what made sense and what really added value versus maybe taking too much value out of a project when it wouldn't be necessary to do so. So we've probably got anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 in HVAC savings that we might see coming up, depending on future decisions. And then there might be about 70,000 or so in a site change, but it's really going to be impacted again on location of tennis courts and things. So we really can't act on that deduct change order yet. So there is some potential value coming back to the project, but we're working to take those out. I think we actually took one already, the 50,000 for the or 49,000 for the not the PVC underground, but the current drains, right? Putting drains, yeah. So you know that's some good news on the BE practices. There's a couple other items we're looking at, but again, we'll have to vet through with the design team and professional team and the decision making group to see if it actually makes sense to take that value out of the project or that scope. I think that's it. That's all I have on ownership.
Questions? All right, now we go on to architect report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I just mentioned a couple of things, and then Archana will talk about the world of colors as they are applied to walkers. It's a fascinating subject. But as far as I'm concerned, it's great. ONG has started putting a frame up that's looking great. That seemed to have come out of nowhere. 1 minute you look and it's there. So it's great. You may have noticed that there's different colors. There's a gray steel, and then there's the normal steel, which has a little bit of rust on it. That's normal. The gray steel is going to be painted, so that's going to be exposed. It's a different quality of steel, as opposed to the rest of the steel, which is going to be fireproof and concealed. You won't see it as you'll see the walls go up. They'll be covering that steel. So that's the difference. We've been working with ONG in this the submittal of shop drawings, submittal of samples, responding to questions from subcontractors. And there's a lot of material to review, and we've been distributing that to our sub-consultants. And we also asked ONG, hey, can you help us prioritize what we need first? Because otherwise, we're going to defer things that you don't need right away. So they've been giving us these color-coded sheets of paper. Orange means you got to address those first. And so that's been working pretty well. So I'd like to ask Archana to tell us about what's going on with colors.
So last Friday, so we met with the Farmington design team and CSG to confirm all the colors for the different areas of the building. So we almost got confirmation for like 2 areas, but we're still waiting for to hear back about area C. The area C is where we have the tech spaces and the art classrooms. So this is like if you as a part of wayfinding, we have colors for each area. So like we have accent colors for the flooring, we have colors for the wall covering and the lockers too. So to kind of confirm the custom colors for the lockers, it's important we hear back from the design team on the final colors chosen. So that's the whole purpose of doing this exercise. And so once we get that confirmation, we release the 5 colors to ONG. So most of this end of this week or next week. So that's our status.
So Archana, is it fair to say that, you know, in this instance, you know, we're fairly early, we're just putting up steel and forcing it, not forcing, but really pushing a decision for colors so early on, and one of the reasons being that the lockers are a long lead item, right? We talked a lot about concern about supply chain and getting items, and so this is an item, we're not gonna be installing lockers until
later this year, early next year, so.
right, so we've got a long way to go. Here we are in February, right? So it's part of the why we're trying to, so in order to do that, you've got to look at all the other colors, right? So it's a good process to do. But I think, Nelson, if you talk just for a second about your request, OMG's request of your subcontractors and why the big push to get all these submittals in as soon as possible, you know, you've got an early procurement process with your subs to
Yeah, we track with each individual sub, we have a procurement log that they have, it's a deliverable that they have to give us every month. It's contingent, and we don't release payment until we actually receive this log, and it identifies the lead time fabrication, which is your lead time. It will identify if there's any supply chain issues, and when they need that drop dead date of approval from the design team so that they can order the material based on our construction schedule and meet our deadlines. So Mason Coudray, who's our project engineer, and Michael Kenzo, our assistant project manager, have been collecting this information from all the trades. And it's not just metal lockers. We also need a decision on the brick and other on the ground face on CMU, because you see structural steel now, but then the steel framing and then the sheathing, and then the brick is going to come right after. So a lot of stuff is coming off, even though it's a 2-year project. You need to get materials ordered so that we can obtain those materials that are, you know, I don't want another contractor or another project to obtain the material that we should be getting at certain points in the project. And the SKP has been working with us hand in hand as far as submittal reviews. If we need an expedited review, then having conversations daily.
Right, so if I may, so your job super, George Gibbons, explained it really well once in the job meeting, which is, I know we're not gonna get to lockers in the gym area until later, but you need to release all the lockers to the subcontractor, so that's why we.
Yeah, to George's explanation, and I'll go through, I have a quick slide presentation, but the drawings, you have classroom, you have building A, B, C, D, and E. A is classroom pod, B is a classroom pod, C is the tech ed area, D is the gymnasium, cafeteria, service area, and then
E is the auditorium.
E is the auditorium staff area. So even though it's a 2-year project, building A is the first sequence of that whole project. So building A is the critical half, where by the time they're still doing steel on E, we're already doing interior work on A because it's an assembly line. So it puts them under a lot of pressure, because even though I don't need lockers until next year, we need to release that material because schedule wise, we need fit out A.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. All right, and for what you guys, I mean, there's no way to know, but I mean, as far as lead time, were any huge concerns that you're seeing again, as far as what being delivered, when or timing?
Nothing right. We had a slag material for, slag is material that goes into concrete. So we were notified by Tilcon that their supplier, their main supplier of slag, couldn't produce it anymore. They had an issue with the factory in Jersey. So they immediately supplied a letter with product documentation, and then we immediately sent it to TSKP and Michael Horton. And they, within, I would say, two days, gave us an answer. And they were able to secure a different supplier so that the slab placements in the concrete wouldn't be impacted. So again, I credit the design team for being nimble because we're giving them a critical list, but then this came up, which was, you know, unexpected, and they quickly gave us the approval to proceed.
So far, so good.
It's a long project, so there'll probably be other things that.
Oh, sure, I'm just, you know, it's interesting, to me just to get the process. even.
At this point in
More,
time, that was the one. And I want to consider it major. If there was no other supplier available, then it'd be
we'd
be
be
a
having.
bigger issue.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions on the architect board or anything else? Thank you very much. All right, construction manager report.
I'm just gonna give a brief, just slide presentation. We're still working on our, first official CM report. We are getting the central office costs from each contractor, so, that's part of our cost report. So next month I will have, the official report, but I provided a truncated for. So these were actually drone shots that we took yesterday of the concrete placement in building B.
There's no steel.
Yeah, because it's on. Oh, if you go to the first slide, so. Is that the first slide? So this is the tech ed area, so building A, you see that lower corners, you see a little bit of the steel, but this was a slab placement yesterday. They were here until quarter after 7 last night, finishing the concrete. So that went well. This is the overall over the football fields. See the steel structure, the concrete pump trucks, all the work taking place. This is just a shot, you know, closer to the football field. Nothing interesting other than this is the lower back area. So we're doing the footings. They're going to start falling up for the footings in that area soon. This is the shot that you use for the website, which gives a nice look of the overall site. And you have a different drone shot from the 1928 building after our communication. So, but yeah, we'll get additional shots later in the project. 2 iron workers and he is tied off. He's tied off with a beam there. That's a different image, but now you can see actually that classroom section. Just a different vantage point of the steel activity. So, this is the last photo, but now you get to see, you know, really the steel going up. And then as that structure comes around, that's going to be an eye opener when you're coming up on TV. That people will start realizing, you know, school.
Nelson, that's a good progression shot. So area A that's building steel and getting ready, area B that's got its slabs poured, area C that's just got its footings going, and area D that's just it's got its foundation walls, and then area D that's got its footings. So again, if you work that backwards, you can kind of see how that, you know, area A started, that looked like that back corner a month ago.
By the time we're doing steel on that side, we're going to be doing interior work with this building. A lot of activity going on. I just wanted to, so that you understand building A, B, C. C, D, and D. So this is your auditorium. There's office space here. Your gymnasium, We do have some deeper foundations under the bleachers. The part of the bleachers sit on the concrete bleachers, and then you have conventional bleachers that come out. That got concrete will be placed in the cables. Then for my report. So just a quick project update as far as cost and schedule impacts, schedule, then coordination, RFIs, supply chain issues currently at this point in the project. Significant cost or schedule increases. Area A, underground mechanical, MEPs, the slab on grade, structural steel started. Basically a week and a half ago. Underground MEPs and B. And slab on grade was placed yesterday. They're progressing into C with the underground, and area D is currently being estimated for plans. We did go through the project photos later tonight. There's the PCO, that we have for approval on the track and field, and then two requisitions. So as far as schedule, in our report, we will have a narrative with our schedule. Schedule is 81 pages, so I'm not going to present the schedule here, but there's 630 days. We're 90 days from the notice to proceed, about 14%. As far as the schedule goes, that doesn't reflect the billing. It does lag. But as far as activities, 30% activities are complete. A little bit. We do have a negative 8 days of flow on the critical path, which is the steel. We're not concerned about it at this point because, again, it's all due to fabrication of the steel and when the crane actually showed up on site. We have enough Saturdays and additional crews with the steel contractor that by the next update, that negative flow will pretty much go away. And then on the abatement, it's just high critical path, and by the time we get to the building demolition, that the end date doesn't change, so that's why it's showing us with negative flow. Going, pretty much that's what you're going to see in our report as the subsection of the schedule. I'll explain, the work taking place, the description of the critical path, upcoming work, and then if we add or delete any items out of the schedule, we did delete one item. We're expanding our schedule as the trades come on board. They provide us more finite detail. So I'll explain if we add items. If we add an item that is a schedule impact, let's say an RFI, that'll get identified in this section. Currently, we don't have any of those impacts. And a WPS is just a work breakdown structure. If I add another section to break out a subsection of a building, that's a WPS. I tried to reduce the files, okay, that's the drawing that I just as last to wrap it up. So last month I showed live our photo documentation software, but these I'll include in my report. They basically show you the work. So this work actually took place on February 1st. This was building A, so we had no structural steel at that point in time. It'll show you the contract drawing. It'll show you the path that our superintendent walked. And then you scroll down, I add some information so that you understand what took place. It's kind of a finishing style on graded building A classroom wing. And this arrow here shows you the direction that you're looking at from the camera. That was the protection, the blankets that they were placing for frost protection for areas A and B. This is area B classroom wing, and now it's already, the concrete 2 weeks later is already placed. That's form work, so you can see the ABB, the waterproofing membrane. So as they're forming, and they're taking the forms out, now the site work contractor goes in and puts their, so it's an assembly line for all intents and purposes. So that's the tech eds steam areas. But they added part, it's not done. And now this is still February 1st. This is the loading dock area. Scroll one more. That's it. Okay. I thought I put two shots of yesterday. Not a big deal. Other than the shot that I took yesterday, it just shows the steel at the ground level, the steel and the concrete finishers. That's our update for, so we're on schedule, we're on budget, and we'll have a more comprehensive report next month.
Right, anybody have any questions? Just very thorough, it's just very thorough, we're getting very thorough reports. All right, that's super helpful, and that's like just to, and I know you'll build on it, but it's exciting to see.
And we'll provide a report ahead of the building committee meeting.
Yeah.
So that, you know what's on the report.
All right. How are we doing? Any luck?
Nothing yet.
Cool. All right. That's a message too, just get propped up. Communications subcommittee report. So we did have a communications meeting just prior to this meeting, so that cadence will remain. It'll be monthly. So even if the building committee, we have to meet once a month for some reason, which is probably going to start to see to slow down a little bit. We're hoping, but we'll still keep once a month communications meetings, at least until we get through the topping off ceremony, as we mentioned last time. So that's now scheduled for the May time frame. So we talked a little bit about timing tonight, where we'll have a newsletter go out just prior to that event, which will include updates in general on the project, as well as the invitation out to the community to join us for the topping off ceremony, which we are now heading in the direction that will probably most likely be a Saturday morning, which makes it easier on the district to manage, kind of people in the site, in the area, and then gives obviously more time for people to join us. Nothing huge, hour or so, very celebratory, and with a few speakers, those kind of things. So we're working on that timing, and we've got a couple things in play for that. We also discussed, as Devin mentioned, the website. We're going to try to do kind of really some hot button communication right on that homepage. So we now have an image up there of the site. We'll kind of change that every once in a while, so people have a different view of the site from, maybe from that front angle is what we're thinking of, to give people an idea of where they are and orient them a little bit better on the site. So, and then just some major milestones around that, nothing huge, but just enough to keep them engaged. We also talked about maybe potentially doing a little bit more communication inside the school here. Is there any way we can do maybe some communication over by the gym area? That's a lot big community use areas. There's something we can do there on the monitors or something to show images, just to get more engagement with the community. We also talked about neighborhood communication. So we do have a neighborhood communication distribution list. It's not very big at the moment, but we will keep maintaining that. We do, again, major milestone communications out to the surrounding neighborhoods on big events, so they were made aware when the cranes were brought in, when they start to expect things to go above the fence. So we're going to try to keep the neighbors engaged on any of those major events as well. What else am I missing? Communications team. Anything else we talked about? It's a lot. I mean, we don't want to back off our communications. Oh, Russ, do you want to talk about the, not the spot, but the work that you guys are doing with students or, I think that's.
Yeah, I was actually gonna mention it, so, O&G builds are, our educational programs that we've used at Platt High School or, all in Brooklyn, in Torrington. High school projects that we've worked on. I sent Russ and Scott some information of how we engage students. And also, when at the faculty meeting, I briefly talked about it, but we have many opportunities to get the kids engaged, excited about construction, not just the project itself, but careers, as far as architects, engineers, construction managers, even if they're interested in going into the trades. So we're gonna set up monthly where we're gonna work with the school as far as what opportunities you guys wanna pursue and get kids excited about construction and the project itself as well, with some tours. And actually, we have the tech ed kids at the entrance of the school, not the school, the construction entrance, and George gave them probably a 15-minute description of the work taking place. We have concrete pump trucks, cranes, a lot of activity. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the collaboration with O&G and getting a lot of ideas, not only from them, but different ways from different departments that we work with our school to career counselor, Dr. Steve Netco, different teachers about how we can possibly connect with O&G and get kids, this amazing experience and to learn about all the different aspects that go into a building or a project like this size. I did talk with someone from Platt High School who said it was an amazing educational opportunity for their students and really felt like it changed the lives or the path for a lot of students that went through that program. So I'm really, really excited about it. We have a meeting actually tomorrow to talk about some next steps and maybe getting something going as early as next month, more formal. We do have, as Nelson said, we had a classes already going out to the fence line or going over to the trailer to get caught up on some stuff, but we will really start to formalize that and grow those opportunities as soon as next month, which is really cool.
And even if we, if teachers want us to go and give a presentation to a class, we have so many things available to us that we can accommodate. And typically, like if the electrician comes in, we'll have them do a presentation of their education, what they had to do to have their career. We'll put up a set of drawings, show them the construction documents, and then we'll actually take them out into the field. The electrician will show them how they wire up a box, and then we'll give them a quick, probably 30-35 minutes. It'll probably land within the period of a classroom session, and we'll ask somebody from the architect to do a presentation as far as what you have to do to become an architect, because the careers that we're in, we all went to college, and that's there's good paying careers and for what we did.
And we'd be happy to do that. It was interesting, I learned in the trailer yesterday that there were a lot of alumni from CCSU. It felt like a reunion. even the town engineer.
Yeah,
We have a lot of CCSU grads.
it's great. So local.
When a road actually used to go through CCSU. But yeah, no, there's the perception of construction, it's like, well, I want to do construction. Well, there's engineers, architects, designers, interior designers, landscape designers, there's even contractors. You have to have a college degree to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
And tradesmen too. Even if they go to a trade school, you have to go through an apprenticeship. So I know that even alumni from Farmington High School know the construction project. They know what we offer for educational experience, and they even want to participate.
That's really great, yes. And I love the idea that this is such an opportunity for the kids. This is kind of almost a once in a lifetime for some of these students going through where you have this happening right next to them. And being able to have
But
access
to
to
Russ's
that is amazing.
point, if you have a room full of, 15 kids, and if you actually change their career path
Yeah.
for 2 of them.
Yeah.
I think we've already been successful.
Yeah.
Because, you do the best with them, in school and. But, they don't know that this information is out there, and they don't actually get to experience how many school kids actually have a building that's being built right on their campus.
Yeah.
It's actually a classroom setting if we really want to use it in that manner.
Great. A lot of exciting stuff. Thank you, yeah, I mean, in any updates, you guys jump in as we hear more about that, because I think that's, for us, that's exciting.
Yeah, I
to
could
hear
report
all
on
these
that maybe
pieces.
in our report as well. As
Yeah.
far as what we.
Yeah, and I think from your guys' perspective, so that's also good information to be passing down.
If you have any, even committee members, if you have suggestions as far as like you'd like to see. Definitely, we're open to any ideas.
All right, perfect, thank you. All right, excellent, thank you very much. All right. Anything else on communications or any of that? All right. Financial subcommittee report. We did meet obviously last Friday, and a lot of what you'll see in our packet is what we're going to review. So really nothing more than we did get some updates on some additional reporting. I know Suraj has been helping us kind of identify some opportunities to kind of really distill information and look at that in a way that's helpful for us. So trying to introduce that into some of our meetings, getting to that rhythm in the financial subcommittee has been super helpful. But obviously we'll go through each of the approvals, the invoices that were reviewed by the financial subcommittee, as well as conversation on change or that's in here as well. So more on that. Anything financial report, Devin?
No,
Yeah. All right, and we have Mr. Smith on the line. This is awesome. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
The man of the hour today. All right, so why don't we move right on to new business? So could I get a motion to approve the following invoice package for Farmington Central offices noted in item G1? Motion.
Second.
All right, I will open this up for discussion. I don't think anything specific other than this is the standard CSG invoice for professional services for central office for January 2023. And remember, for all of these, as I mentioned, this has all been reviewed and updated or asked questions about and gotten additional context by the financial subcommittee as well. So any questions on that? All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Move right on to item G2, but I have a motion to approve the following invoice package for Farmington High School noted in item G2. Motion.
Second.
All right, we're gonna open this one up for discussion, much more substantial for us to review. So we want to kind of walk us through a little bit.
Sure, happy to. So you've got some of the standard invoicing for Construction Solutions Group for TSKP Studios. There's 2 invoices here. We had a discrepancy we had to work out, and so TSKP had to wait another billing period. So there's 2 billing periods in there for Farmington High School. O&G's, so I'm kind of dancing around here, but their O&G Industries, $111,000 for their pre-construction invoice. I believe that included the RAM,
that was the balance.
the balance, that's the balance of the, so if you remember, we authorized the pre-detailing of the shop drawings to get that process going prior to the award of the contracts, and so that's what that value is, and then
I'm sorry, real quick on that. That's really the reason why you see steel being
Already.
put up in the air right now, and we're still pouring concrete. typically we wouldn't see steel on the project for probably another month and a half, 2 months. So the money's well spent and.
Yeah.
Yeah, the frame's going up pretty much without a hitch and. So,
Yeah, that's good to know.
money well spent.
Yeah, I
early
think
on.
you remember that was actually a decision we had to approve was to put that in place, to shorten the timeline. But it definitely does, seem to make a difference.
Thank you, Mark. No. Great point. You'll see, so we talked last, I've been sort of preparing the building committee over the last few months that the invoices are gonna start to go up. We'll start to see things like close to $5 million a month, right? So this is, here we are. O&G's $4.8 million for their contractor payments application number 7. Again, everything that you saw bringing us up with the concrete and the steel, but there's a whole lot of underground plumbing that you don't see. You just see little stubs sticking out of the ground. Well, there's a whole bunch of pipes that connect those stubs together. That's all part of this work, the excavation, the site work, right? So these numbers are going to continue to look pretty similar to this month after month as we start moving forwards. They'll fluctuate a little bit. The next one is O&G's $110,000 change order, proposed change order. I believe that's the next item, so we'll get into the details of that, if that's okay, in the next item. But the TSKP Studios, I already talked about, and then IMTL, that's our materials testing agency, so they come out whenever O&G is pouring concrete or they're putting steel up, right? Our testing lab there are eyes and ears. They're basically verifying that the work is put in to specifications, that the concrete that they physically test the concrete. They break it after a certain number of days, say that the concrete as it gets harder has met the strength that it was designed to do. So all those things, they provide that on-site inspections, visual inspections, and then they're reporting it. So these are their invoices for IMTL. We'll see these continue through most of the, through the structural portion of our work, right? So they'll be with us for a while. As Nelson's talking about going to A to B to C, right? They're gonna carry those inspections through each one of those phases. And I believe that's all we have for invoices.
What I think it makes sense for us to do though, since the dollar amount is
Good,
included in
great.
this,
I
is
agree.
at least to do the detailed conversation or get detail on the change order.
Sure.
So that we understand it's included, and then we can.
So there's a lot of paperwork involved in the change order, and if you actually go to the last page of your packet. The very last page has this, looks like this. The CSG form. Basically outlines the sort of details of the of this, and this is something that the committee had asked us to put together, and so the decision-making group. So remember, there's a decision-making group. There's 4 individuals or 5 individuals on that group. That group has authorization of $25,000 or less. Anything above that, they vet, change order, and then make a recommendation to the building committee. So that's the group that we first meet with. We talk through. This is for a proposal to include the installation of the shot put, discus, and javelin throwing facilities within the adjacent up to the existing upper field. We pulled these descriptions right from TSKP's proposal, right? So we knew that we needed to relocate those. They were not part of the conceptual design originally. We did have conversations in the spring as we got ready for the enabling plan. Those never got incorporated into the enabling plan or to the bid package. And so, we are now in a situation where we have to, the school still needs those facilities. There was, if you remember, there was no temporary location that the school could, or the town could identify that would make sense for the kids in terms of having to transport them, similar to like baseball or tennis, right? Those are been relocated. So what the school did in the spring, and as we were getting into the enabling phase, was to identify a location in the upper fields that would work for the javelin. What this did was then take that agreed upon space and put it down on paper. So TSKP spent some time with their consultants designing the area, having to address any cuts and fills to make the drainage work, make the javelin throw fit in there, and everything that they needed, right? There was consideration of, there's the fields are sprinklered up there. So if you're thinking you're throwing a javelin into that field, you've got to make sure you've got an area that's not going to burst or hit a sprinkler pipe and break that. So there was other considerations. There's a walkway that needed to be incorporated to get to that section. But I would say that it is somewhat in kind to what you used to have there, right? So it's still the same. It should have made it into the bid documents. It did not make it into the bid documents. It's still a required piece of scope of work that you need. And so this is where we are today. So we identified it, so it was not included, so consider this an omission in the drawings and specifications. The cost source, this would come out of your owner's contingency. That's how this would get paid for. The costs were reviewed with the construction management design team and the decision-making group. We, as your owners, make this recommendation and forward with this change.
Any questions on the work, what's happening with it? Yes. Obviously required, certainly,
And we do, and there's a sense of urgency in this in some ways, because especially with the mild winter, right? You're gonna start probably sooner than when's the event start? They started
Spring season will start to last week of
last week of March, so we're pressing up against that timeline now. We verified that materials are available, right? Some of the items like the chain link fence and things like that were items that we want to make sure we could procure.
Anybody have any questions on this?
I think it's important too, we did present it to the finance subcommittee as well.
Yeah, everything that you see here that's related to additional finances, or we will review that the change orders will also come before that committee as well. So additional costs are required based on, what the need is.
So I think
Again, the location it goes in is not, it's gonna be a permanent.
Yes, that is, it's not, this isn't a temporary solution
Correct.
based on the fact that we're in the midst of construction and site development. It's-
And then unlike baseball or tennis.
Yeah.
If you have a track meet, you're not gonna bus. There's nowhere else to go anyway, there's
Yeah, yeah.
not another place where you're gonna throw javelin or,
Yeah, right.
do shot put, but you're gonna, track meet's gonna happen. On the track.
Right,
here,
exactly, and then
location
those are
outside.
happening. Right.
I think it's important to note this is change order number 2. Probably many, your first change order was a deduct change order for $193,000 that we got credited back as part of the enabling plan. So right now you've got, including this 110,000, you're at a credit of 82,000.
Is there anything else we're aware of that wasn't included in the bidding package that we know we might need, but similar to this?
Not as far as scope is concerned, right? So we've got a few other design, a couple of other change orders that are coming down the line. There's a potential $10,000 change order for the grease trap depth of the.
Adding risers to grease trap and deeper estimation. We're currently getting that number.
So those are things that get verified in the field that come up during the construction process. As far as scope is concerned, no, this definitely was one that slipped through. It was in the ed specs notified. I believe it said in the ed specs that it was to be relocated if there was room on the site to do so. But again, this came up, we recognized it early, but did not implemented in the drawings in time for to go into the bid package. So it's scope that would have been part of the bigger bid package, and part of it would have been a larger discrepancy at referendum. By how much, it's hard to say. You're probably paying a little bit of a premium here, but I can't, I don't know if the design team has anything that.
Sure, let me talk about that a little bit. It's a good question. You will find during the course of construction, there will be change orders. It's a fact of life. And the requirement for those change orders could be for different reasons. Either what is omitted from the documents, and it's a requirement that has to be put back in, and you're paying fair value for that. there may be a request by the owner. A reconsideration of some feature or relocation of some feature, that happens. And it goes on right from now till the end. There may be a new interpretation by the building official or by the fire marshal. I've experienced with fire marshal actually will do a walkthrough of the building and say, I need more exit signs. Because as good as they are in reviewing plans, it's very difficult to visualize every viewpoint that the fire marshal would want to see an exit sign. So those kinds of things do need to be covered. And they are either covered by owner's contingency, and that's why you have an owner's contingency, or they're covered by the CM contingency, and that's why they carry the CM contingency. Because you may encounter a problem with a trade and you need to do a substitution or something, that's not necessarily a change order, but it's an expenditure that comes out of the project.
It might be something in the scope that didn't get bought, trade package with the subcontractor. ONG then utilizes their construction contingency drawn out for those types of things.
Yeah, so in answer to your question, do we know what else is missing? No. We'll find out as we go.
But as far as major components like this. We missed an event for. Hard to say, but we would hope not.
All right, anybody else have any questions on the change order or the invoices that we have stated in this packet? Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the motion passes. But I believe we still have to do, I agree, right? Or, yeah, right, to make sure that it's signed and move forward. So the final item now, and this is in reference to that joint change order that we just talked about, was, I get a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the proposed change order number 002.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, excellent. So going through the process, I think it's helpful for us. So for each of the change orders we receive moving forward, we'll have an understanding that level set document included with those so that we can have a better understanding of each as it comes through. Any other new business or any other business?
Do we want to approve the minutes from the meeting?
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Absolutely. Could I get a motion to approve the attached January 18, 2023 minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Kevin. Anything else? All good? Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and adjourn our motion to
15 seconds.
motion? Second.
In some way.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, 5:59. Thank you, everybody.